Hey there guys, it's Math&More tutorials here again and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to solve equations using our trig and our Pythagorean identities. So let's get started. So I have some problems here and we're going to solve them. So let's start with number 1. So you have tangent squared of x plus 1 over 1 plus cotangent squared of x. So our goal here is to try simplify it as much as possible, preferably down to one trig equation. So one thing we can do is apply our knowledge of Pythagorean identities. We know that tangent squared of x is just secant squared. Tangent squared of x plus 1 is just secant squared. And I'm not going to write the variable, we can just attach that on later. And we know that 1 plus cotangent squared of x is just cosecant squared. So let's simplify it down. So we know secant squared is just 1 over cosine squared. And we know that cosecant squared is just 1 over sine squared. 1 over sine squared. Okay, so now we're just gonna keep change flip. So this is equal to 1 over cosine squared times sine squared over 1. And this is just sine squared over cosine squared. And we know that this is just tangent squared. Tangent squared of x. So I just attach a variable to the end. And we're done. That's all there is to it. So you just have to apply your knowledge, and you have to be kind of creative with this. That's the whole point of using these Pythagorean identities. So it looks like we have 1 over secant squared of x minus tangent squared of x minus 1 over secant squared of x plus tangent of x. Okay, so this might seem a little bit daunting at first, but let's work through it. Let's see what we can do. So I'm just going to write the equation down here, so for more room. So I believe it was 1 over secant minus tangent minus 1 over secant plus tangent. I believe this is what it was. Let's take a look up here. And yeah, that looks right. Okay. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna simplify these denominators. So how we can do that is let's simplify secant and tangent. So this should be equal to 1 over secant is 1 over cosine minus sine over cosine, which is tangent, and this whole thing minus the same thing. It's just that we're adding 1 over cosine plus sine over cosine. And this is actually great. Notice how in these two denominators we have like terms. So that's already solved for us. So now what we can do is we can do 1 over 1 minus sine over cosine minus 1 over 1 plus sine over cosine. And in our last example, we're going to keep change flip. So this should be equal to when it's just 1 in the numerator, we're just taking the reciprocal. So this should be really easy. We can just do cosine over 1 minus sine minus cosine over 1 plus sine. Okay, so the next step over here is we have to find like denominators. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to multiply this first fraction by 1 plus sine over 1 plus sine, and we're going to multiply the second one. So let me write it out. So we're going to do cosine of 1 minus sine times 1 plus sine over 1 plus sine. And then for this other, so we're going to do minus cosine over 1 plus sine. So now we're doing this just to get common denominators, which we can hopefully simplify this. So this should be times 1 minus sine over 1 minus sine. Great. Okay. So let's multiply this out. Let's simplify this further, and let's see what we get. Okay, so after multiplying, we get cosine plus cosine sine over, and remember, this is a difference of two squares right here. This right here is just a difference of squares. I mean, multiply. So we know that using our difference of squares, it's just a squared minus b squared. So it's just 1 minus sine squared. And same thing over here, except we have cosine minus cosine times sine. All over, again, we have 1 minus sine squared. Great, we finally have a common denominator. And now we can simplify. Remember, we have to distribute this negative sign to all these terms. So when we subtract, this will become cosine minus cosine. So these will just cancel out. And this will become cosine minus cosine of sine. So this will just be 2, this will simplify it down to 2 cosine sine over, and remember our Pythagorean identity. 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. And now it's just simple. We just get rid of the square, we just get rid of the sine, cosine, and this just equals 2 sine cosine, and this just equals to 2 tangent of x, I believe x is our variable. Yes, x is our variable. So this is the answer. Now this one was a little bit longer. There are many ways to solve these equations, and so this is one of the ways. Sometimes it'll be short, sometimes it'll be longer, like this one, but you just have to keep going with it. If you get stuck, try a different approach. So yeah, let's go to one last problem. So we have secant of x times cotangent of x minus cotangent of x times cosecant of x. Okay, let's see if I got cosine of x, sorry. Let me just write these equation out. Okay, so I believe it was secant times cotangent minus cotangent times cosine. Again, if you don't know where to go for this, just simplify everything you know. So we know that secant is just 1 over cosine times 1, cotangent is cosine over sine minus cosine over sine times cosine over 1. Okay, so now what we can do is we can eliminate. How are we going to eliminate? Well, I see a cosine. So right here, I see a cosine and a cosine in the numerator and a cosine in the denominator. So we can just cancel out. Okay. And this becomes, let's see here. I'm going to do this. Okay. This becomes 1 over sine minus, we multiply straight across. So we get cosine squared over sine. Okay, so now we have like denominators. these are both sine. So now what we can do is you can just say 1 minus cosine squared over sine. And this just equals, using our Pythagorean identity, sine squared over sine. Now we just cross these out. You can just cross these out. And this just simplifies down to sine of x. There you go. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so this is gonna end the video. So try these problems as practice problems on your own, number 16 and number 17. Number 16, I will say is a little bit harder. But I hopefully you can work your self through it. I'll be answering 16 and 17 in the next video. So if you have any questions for me, please leave it in the comments. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and see you later.